The panic meter, rookie edition.
Oh my goodness, the panic meter.
Yeah, I'm just gonna kick it off with the guys that I hyped up at the beginning of the season.
Do we want to do like just like we all just say a 1 through 10 scale, then we can go kind of.
Yeah, okay. So Terrace Marshall, 5.
Start with you, JT.
I mean, I have 5. Like, we talked about him before on our hits and misses. I just think it's a weird year to have. The issue with all these guys, to go on a little side tangent, is
no, you're good.
It's going to be like what someone we've referenced before on this podcast, DF Bean Counter on Twitter, talks about with the face planters, where it's like Terrace Marshall was drafted, relatively high in rookie drafts, probably like the 201, 202, 203 in that kind of realm, and now he's probably going. If we were to do it again, he's probably in the late second, early third kind of area, and that is what he would consider a face planter, and that is what you want to try and avoid. My issue with Terrace Marshall is, though, he's someone that we all kind of knew was raw coming out. Like, he's only really had a season and a half of college production under him, where he was behind Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson in his first year, and then did do solid production when it was him and Kayshon Boutte. But since going to the NFL and having Sam Darnold and Cam Newton and PJ Walker as his quarterbacks, he hasn't really done anything, to the point of now he's even behind Shi Smith. So apparently, 5 is kind of on the low end for me. Somewhere between 5 and 7 is what I'd say. I'm definitely not at a full 10, but it's not fun, seeing Terrace Marshall do this.
I'm at a 7, just because. I don't know. It's like Robbie Anderson didn't play well this year. That wide receiver 2 spot was up for grabs if he wanted to have it. Never mind the wide receiver 3 spot with Shi Smith. Congrats to him. He grabbed it. And I feel another thing that was kind of a comfort was, Joe Brady knows how to use him. Like he'll fit in with that kind of similar offense. Joe Brady gone now. He's still talented. Just his draft capital alone, he's still talented, which is the reason I can't really go to a 10. And also because that passing attack for majority of the year has been asked. But like there's a decent amount of concern. Also because I was never really the biggest Terrace Marshall guy to begin with.
But before you guys chime in, I just think he's going to be our Bryan Edwards of this year, where he was the preseason king going into it, and I think he's going to be the preseason king again going into this upcoming year.
Yeah, I can see it.
Will he actually produce? I don't know. Yeah, he's Terrell Owens mixed with Randy Moss with Devontae Adams.
So, like, I guess for me, my panic level on Terrace Marshall would be low, but it would be low for where I had him ranked in the preseason.
Because you already had low expectations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I had him as like a mid-third round grade in a rookie draft. So, like, I think I would still spend like that mid-third round, like mid-late third round rookie price on him. But I guess if you drafted him highly, like, you're clearly panicked, dude. I'm with Lounis. I'm at like a 7 and 8. I think this has kind of been like the worst case scenario. He doesn't seem like he's a mature dude. He seemed lazy on tape at LSU. That was one of the big things that scared me. And clearly, whether it's that issue or something else, is keeping him literally just off of the field. Like it's not even like he's a Dyami Brown where he's seeing the field. He's a little injured.
The healthy scratch was the point.
Matt Rule alluded to it. I've talked about it on the podcast too before, where he was showing how DJ Moore ran 40 yards down the field to make a big block, and then he was like, and then like the following couple plays, Terrace Marshall he didn't make a block, and he's a rookie and he's got to learn to do that. So it does lend credence to what Frank was saying earlier with the, maybe it's that reason why now we're seeing Shi Smith instead of Terrace Marshall. Who knows?
The thing is, though, is that there is a little part of me that is not, because someone like a Bryan Edwards, even though I South Carolina alum, to me, Bryan Edwards was always too inconsistent for me to kind of go in on. I liked him a little bit after, like in that rookie season, but after that, I was not trying to target Bryan Edwards. Dude, Terrace Marshall, you cannot deny his upside. And even though he has all this shit going against it, the guy is a freak athlete. And if he does figure it out, you're talking about a guy that has top 10 potential in the NFL. So, like, if he gets to the point where he's kind of free and, like, throwing, maybe I'd look if I had a roster spot and on a rebuilding team to get him for free. But I don't think he's at that point. So as of right now, I wouldn't look to purchase him.
If we saw the bean counter effect that happened last year, the likes of Denzel Mims and Jalen Reagor, their value just started like plummeting during the offseason simply because so many people were talking about like those rookies that don't produce. So, I mean, he probably won't be free, but he will be cheaper.
But I'm talking more of like the Van Jefferson, where it's like Terrace Marshall really hasn't been given a chance. Reagor and some of these other guys, Denzel Mims and whatnot, they were given a chance, and they kind of fucked the chance up, and they sucked. And they have sucked.
You're not putting it lightly.
I mean, he's not wrong.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Like,
no.
Terrace Marshall
I mean,
not a chance yet, really.
I mean, that's the thing is, I think that goes.
I mean, the concerning part is
stuff we don't see.
Yeah, it's like he hasn't played well enough.
But we saw him in preseason. He was
JJ, what's the Bucks running back? What's his name?
Sure. Keyshawn
Vaughn. Yeah, maybe he's the Keyshawn Vaughn or the Josh Rosen, where it's like Josh Rosen kind of got a chance, but like he's so bad in practice and just lazy that he never gets the chance. I guess that's the concern. But
yes, that's what I was getting at.
I like to believe he's the Brandon Ayuk. That's my.
Yeah, you also said there's no way the guy Joe Brady handpicked won't produce. So.
Look, they fought Joe Brady. They didn't want to listen to Joe Brady. Joe Brady was trying to lead him to the truth. All right, moving on to Dyami Brown.
Yes.
Yeah, quickly receiver. Move away, I'm sure.
Washington football team, Frank kind of just talked about him. I think, he's seen the field.
Yeah. I think the panic's got to be pretty high.
Yeah.
I mean, similar to...
Six? I'm giving it a 6.
I'm giving it.
Yeah,
oh man,
6,
I feel bad
7.
for giving it similar. I was gonna say like a 6.5, just because the Washington pass catchers have gotten injured this year. Like I think we mentioned earlier, Curtis Samuel, who they just gave that big contract to, Logan Thomas, who was their number 2 last year after McLaurin. It's just been McLaurin, and then like who does he have? DeAndre Carter, Humphreys, like.
Yeah, DeAndre Carter is looking the best.
Yeah, like DeAndre Carter is the other outside receiver. Like that's the concerning part. Like I'd like to think Dyami Brown can beat out DeAndre Carter by this point in the season, for that outside receiver spot. But he's at the same time he hasn't been to the point of like Terrace Marshall where it's like shit, he was a healthy scratch. Like, so he's slightly less, but I'm still concerned about Dyami Brown. I also was just higher on Dyami Brown before, so I kind of have more faith naturally.
I think a lot of these will be like how high we were. Oh, I don't know if we just lost Frank, but how high we were at the start of the season compared to how high we are now. Our biases are going to click in with this. So to me, I don't know. I just think it's similar in regards to what you're saying before. He just hasn't, like, he's seen the field, hasn't seen targets getting outplayed. I don't know. I'm sticking with 6. Anything to add, Jake?
No, like I said, 6, 7. It's just tough when he gets the opportunity, like Luna said, and he doesn't do much with it.
Mm-hmm. Now that I just checked, we're still good. We're still live, by the way.
Okay. Frank's panic is a 4. He something happened with his computer. All right, moving on to Rashod Bateman. Rashod Bateman for the Ravens. He's kind of seen a decrease in snaps and targets since he's come back from injury. He's losing stuff to Sammy Watkins and Devin Duvernay. To me, it's still a 4.
Oh, dude! I mean, you're supposed to be the Bateman fan.
Well, okay, 3. Like, it's not a 1.
I was
a
gonna
1
say,
is
like,
nothing.
I was gonna say like maybe 2.5, 3.
Okay, 3. I'll give. There's some credence to like. You gotta start showing me some stuff.
Me flashes. That's the thing. With
he showed me in the first couple games. He was getting like he was the guy that Lamar was turning to for first downs. Like he was the clutch receiver.
He made some nice plays, and I'm not talking like Terrace Marshall kind where it's like, oh, you had a deep catch in the 4th quarter of the Week 4 preseason game. Like he had some nice like regular season important catches. Especially those first couple games, Frank. But the injured guy from SpongeBob over him. But I was gonna with Bateman. I'm pretty confident. He has the capital. He's in a good offense. That wide receiver, that other outside receiver spot is going to be wide open next to Hollywood. I'm not worried about Bateman.
Okay, so hear me out on this one. Hear me out. coming from the sell all Ravens guy, I think this is a prime. I'm not panicking because I think he's a talented wide receiver. I liked him at Minnesota. I would sell at what he's currently at. I think
he's still wasn't he wide receiver 25?
He's still at like a top 25 dynasty wide receiver. You're gonna command a first round pick for him. You probably got him in the early second, and that's just stonks right there.
I mean, that's okay. No, that's an interesting question now. I'm
not panicking on him because I think he's a talented wide receiver and he still commands trade value. So I'm not panicking, but my personal self, I would sell at this price he's at right now.
So what you just said, where I find it interesting, because I think Bateman's going to be fine. I had him as like an early second grade, and for an early second, that's where I still have him. Where you said the late first, if I get a late first for Bateman with this receiver class,
if I could get any 2023 first, I'd do it. Probably.
Like the first
2022, it might be a little tough.
I think there's obviously someone in your league that's similar to JT that was very high on Bateman, rightfully so. I had a very high prospect grade on him as well. But if you can get that late first and just basically trade up from a second to a first, just having to hold Bateman for a year, I'm doing it.
That's true.
That's fair. I mean, my trade, according to the keep trade cut value, my favorite trade would be Claypool's wide receiver 24 and Bateman's 25. If I can find a way for Bateman and another small asset for Claypool, I do that in a heartbeat.
Exactly. Even if it's just like a third round pick and Bateman,
something like that.
Claypool, sure.
All right, I'm going to guess this is going to be our last segment, so I guess we don't have to speed through it. So Trey Sermon, 9. I've got 9 for Trey Sermon. What about you guys?
10. Very panicked.
You know what?
I mean, for a guy that receives so much hype in the preseason, and everyone's like, "Oh, there's no running back here." Especially, and then Mostert got hurt week 1. Everyone's like, "Oh, this is Sermon's backfield. There's no chance anything going on." The Elijah Mitchell, the late round pick, has completely outplayed him. The Niners just seem to be trying to find a way to not play him and playing Jeff Wilson and JaMychal Hasty and all these other guys that are, quality running backs, but nothing of what we expected Trey Sermon to be, and I just don't think there's really a rebound from this point that you can see coming.
So, mine's high. I'm between 8 and 9. The only reason I
would be the lowest of us. If you're an 8, you're actually calm on him compared to us.
I think it's just because, man, the 49ers backfield is so unpredictable year to year. Like that.
I mean, every week Elijah Mitchell's been healthy. He's been the guy. It hasn't.
I said year to year, not week to week. Hear me out. It's the type of thing where I don't know. If Trey Sermon outplays Elijah Mitchell next training camp, Sermon would be the guy. Now, with as good as Elijah Mitchell's looked, it's tough because Elijah Mitchell's looked really fucking good, and Shanahan would just keep on using him. I don't know if I could just go to 10 just because it's kind of one of those things. We're talking about the difference
between a 4th round pick and what was Mitchell, a 7th round pick?
I know, but Mitchell
not that big of much
really...
draft capital. And on top of that, we know Shanahan doesn't give 2 shits about draft capital.
He doesn't.
He's done it before where he just plays whoever's good. And it's clear that Mitchell clearly fits this offense more than Sermon does.
I know. I think the lowest on Sermon
of all of us heading into the draft, and this is exactly the problem I had with him was he didn't have a lot of success at Ohio State. He did not. It was really just that college football playoff run where he looked really good for 3-4 games, and that was it. And everyone just expected that to continue. There was a reason he was a 4th round pick in the NFL, and I think we're seeing it. He has holes in his game. And Shanahan just rather go with the guy he's more comfortable with.
Is that Michigan running back, the new Trey Sermon?
Haskins?
Yeah.
Hassan Haskins? I mean, could be. I don't know what his...
To be determined? I don't
know if he's going to get drafted. I don't know what the deal is with Hassan Haskins.
I haven't watched enough tape on Haskins to make that claim. So
everyone started talking about him after the Ohio State game where he scored how many, 4 touchdowns, 5 touchdowns?
All right. Travis Etienne. Trevor Etienne. I'm done. Travis, yeah. Trevor, is Trevor at UMD or Clemson? That's his younger brother.
I don't.
Trevor, I think he's at Clemson. I might be bugging though.
I would wager to bet Clemson.
Yeah, I feel like Jake would know if he was at Maryland.
Yeah, Clemson. All right. Sorry. So he's injured. Liz Frank injury. We're talking about him probably not going to be fully healthy next year. Like full production. I mean, 3, 4.
I was about to say 3. Here's the thing. I say 3 with an asterisk. Like, I don't have my like expectations insanely high next year. I'm basing this injury recovery the same way I saw it with Debo. I know Debo took a little bit of time.
Debo had a Lisfranc sprain, which is very different than a Lisfranc fracture. The guys that have the fracture don't come back, and that's why my panic is at a 7. I don't want it. I don't want any part of this. I don't want a single part of this at all.
If I could trade Etienne for Cam Akers, and according to Keep Trade Cut, they're ranked like equal, I'd do that. Just because we've seen Cam Akers play in the NFL, and while an Achilles injury is not great, neither is the Liz Frank, and I just think Cam Akers is coming back to it, like as long as he beats out Darrell Henderson, like that role is his, and that's a big time role. Where with the Jaguars, I don't know what the deal is with James Robinson or Laviska Shenault and all the other stuff. I don't know what Travis Etienne is going to come back to. So to me, I would try and move him, which apparently you can do on Keep Trade Cut. So I don't know.
The problem with Etienne is that his value has roughly stayed the same.
No, it's definitely fallen.
So but in terms of what it would take to get him, like when in the rookie draft, he probably went between 110, 112 in that area. Like, I don't think the guy who drafted him is going to give him up for anything less. And
you might get him for an early second. I think you can probably get Etienne.
He's worth a 2022 late first, according to Keep Trade Cut.
So
a little bit more.
In terms of that, his value has stayed the same. When we have really never seen a running back really come back from a Lisfranc fracture. So in that sense, if I can get a first and just basically mortgage that pick into a new first, I'm going to do it every single time.
All right, I'm back.
Welcome back.
You're lucky that
Frank
JT that I didn't have all my Rashod Bateman slander.
Oh wait, I kind of.
Are you a Rashod Bateman hater? I wasn't like I.
What would you have said?
I was a little higher on the panic meter than these guys, or than Lounis at least.
What would you have said between 1 to 10?
Probably like a good 6, 7.
Oh,
for the Bateman.
We're all over the map then on Bateman. This was at like a 2, 2.5. I was at like a 3, 4. Jake was at like a 5.
I would have had like a 10 on Sermon.
I mean, we all said very high on Sermon.
We had 9.
Like I was like the most pro Trey Sermon, and I was still at like between 8 or 9. It's bad.
Yeah, was I eligible for the IR there? That's a good point.
I don't even want to know what happened. All right.
I don't know. My computer just destroyed.
Well, actually, Frank, we're moving on to your guy right now, Zach Wilson.
Can you say 0?
2? I'm not concerned about Zach Wilson.
Yeah, like a 1 or a 2.
You guys are low.
He just played well.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about his best game of the season so far, or maybe second best game. If
I still think that Titans game was all
right.
I mean,
6 or 7 for me.
Mm-hmm.
6 or 7?
Yeah. Think about it. You just used a probably top half rookie draft pick on him. Probably lowest was like 107. You probably got him at. Like, to have him put up these numbers in a Jets offense is just you're a little worried. Well, I mean, I would be concerned. Like, we've seen it. We've seen the Jets do this a bunch before. They take a young quarterback, a new coach, and they think it'll work out, and it doesn't, and then they just move on to the next pair. It concerns me.
My thing is he's currently giving us Mac Jones numbers, but you drafted him 5-6 picks ahead of Mac Jones, and that's on his good days. He's giving you Mac Jones numbers.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're that's current numbers. If we're talking ceiling, Zach Wilson's a significantly more talented quarterback than Mac Jones.
What I don't understand is why is Zach Wilson getting all the hate and the panic from the community, but then there's nothing for Justin Fields, and Justin Fields is still valued as a QB1.
I think. Well, at least one of the difference. But I think Zach Wilson isn't. I think he can move a little bit, but I think one of the major differences is that Jets coaching staff is going to have maybe like 3 years with him. We know Justin Fields, they're getting Nagy out of there after this season. And I think with him, it's just the optimism with the coaching staff change. I think that's kind of the different factor. And also probably just people liking Fields more coming out of college.
Yeah, but here's my qualm with the community is that I feel like the hate for Zach Wilson is for people that aren't Zach Wilson. You're just saying what Jake said. Oh, the Jets have done this before. The Jets, they can't get anything right, all that shit. And what I say is, how is that different from the people that were saying, oh, you can't judge Justin Fields because of previous Ohio State quarterbacks? Why are we going to judge Zach Wilson based off of previous Jets quarterback? I think that Zach Wilson has improved a little bit. I mean, he had like 2 errant throws that last game, one of which resulted in an interception. I think that the general high throws from Zach Wilson this season have been a little bit concerning. I will give you that. So that's why there's, I guess, like I'd say like a 2 on the panic meter. There's a little bit of a panic for me. But I think that Zach Wilson is still fine. And if you can get him at this current QB2 keep trade cut price, I would like to do that. I think that that's a good move.
He can. I mean, the biggest thing with Wilson for me is he can make throws a lot of NFL quarterbacks can't make. I believe that.
I mean, yeah, but we've seen that before. If you're just going to use pure arm strength, like we've seen that.
That matters to me. Talent matters to me, even if they haven't figured it out yet. Like if I think this player has talent, and I think they will figure it out.
Obviously, I just think that we finally saw him start to look comfortable the last game. So I think these couple of games, I wanted to victory lap this week, but the Jets fucking lost because they suck.
They weren't beating the Eagles.
I thought that this was the week that we finally see Zach Wilson take a step forward, which he did. It wasn't amazing or anything, but it was a step forward. He started looking better. I think we will continue to see that at the end of the season. And if you have Zach Wilson, he's actually playable now.
And the Eagles, they're not a terrible defense. They're not like one of the top ones, but they're not terrible.
Well, Corey Davis got banged up again during the freaking game. The dude hasn't been able to stay on the field.
Well, I think what's encouraging is him and Elijah Moore are starting to build some chemistry also, which we didn't see at the beginning of the season. Elijah Moore's kind of been on fire the last couple of weeks. But unless anyone has anything else to say on Zach Wilson, moving on to another receiver, Josh Palmer for the Los Angeles
real quick, I want
Chargers.
to touch on Etienne because I never got to touch on Etienne. The one thing I will say about Etienne, because I've flip-flopped on my opinion with Etienne and whether or not I packed with him. The thing that you do have to remember is that this guy is still really fucking good. Like he's a good receiver. He breaks a ton of tackles. I mean, we were talking about Javonte breaking tackles. Etienne had the second highest forced missed tackle rate of my own personal tracking, which I actually had rules for. I don't know how PFF and all of them do it because there's actually like a lot of subjective stuff in a lot of these rates and what is and isn't a forced missed tackle in my estimation. Like I had to come up with a whole like fucking checklist of like what was and was not.
Different analytical, I guess, groups, whoever are doing it, like they have their own little metrics. Like for example, like percentage of like wide open wide receivers hit. Like what do they consider wide open? Like how close does the defender need to be, or like what's technically a broken tackle?
But I don't know. Etienne, if you can get him at any sort of discount, I think I would. I was kind of in the camp of I wouldn't, even just a couple days ago. But at this point, dude, I like Etienne, and I think that he's going to be decent when he comes back. I don't know about the injury itself. All right. I've gotten boned on buying injured players before. Like, I'll be the first one to admit that that's my kryptonite.
Right. Frank, I got 2 things for you, right? Cam Akers or Travis Etienne? Which one?
Cam Akers.
It's not a question.
Not a question?
I'm pretty sure Etienne's higher on keep trade cuts.
Yeah, Etienne.
Actually.
Yeah, he is.
I think
I couldn't point to where the fuck the Liz Frank is.
Yeah, all right, Frank. In terms of injuries, right? We're gonna go with the Harry Potter analogy here, and I'm gonna go with spoilers. So, George Weasley, he lost an ear when he was, George Weasley lost an ear.
Where are you going with this?
Fred Weasley got killed. Between Akers and Etienne, which one's the one losing the ear, and which one's the one that's just getting killed? Like, which one do you think is just going to lose their fantasy value the most? I guess I asked the wrong person because you're not the doctor of this group. But to me, I just think Etienne's more likely to get, his dynasty value killed per se, while like Akers is the one who might just lose an ear. Where if I'm thinking about this, right, like we've already seen what Akers can do. Like there always will be Akers truthers. Etienne, we haven't seen what he can do. If he has a bad season, he'll have the excuse, but his value is just going to take like a huge hit.
The Etienne victory lap next season by me and Frank is going to be glorious.
I just think that come start
Etienne in the league.
I just think
I have them both in the 3rd and 20 league.
Like, I think that trading for him is a little bit worse because you kind of have to give up a 1st-round pick, and the Etienne manager roster is not going to do that. But in a startup, dude, I feel like he's going to be going like around a Miles Sanders price to me, and I mean probably a little bit before that, but I think in that scenario you can get a running back with some real upside at a very favorable price.
All right, so just to give you an idea of players that have had this Liz Frank fracture and surgery. Cedric Benson never played again.
Yeah, but he's trash.
Cedric Benson had a very good NFL career. Anyways, and like the asterisk with this is we've never seen it from a rookie. We've never seen a rookie get this and try to come back from it this early. But Amir Abdullah, career backup. Ronnie Brown, out of the league in 2 years after surgery. Santonio Holmes, out of the league 2 years after the surgery. Darren McFadden, never a starter again after the surgery. MJD, out of the league 1 season afterwards. Cam Newton hasn't been good since 2018 when he had the surgery. Jake Locker played 1 more season. Matt Schaub, 1 season. Alshon Jeffrey, 1 season. So as there's no real success stories.
But a lot of those guys are older.
Yeah,
and that's so weird. He didn't play well until he was 27. He put up 1,200 yards.
He had off the field issues. Yeah. So that's what I said. There's an asterisk where we've never seen a player this young get it, but just the history of the injury is very bad.
I don't really
want on the foot. It's kind of similar with Cam Akers because if you're going to say that with Etienne, it's the exact same thing with Akers where we haven't seen a running back come back from an Achilles.
But we've seen we've seen receivers and we've seen other players. I didn't just name only running back. I named receivers. I named quarterbacks. I'm just talking.
Talking running backs though. Like we haven't. If you're going to say that because they're both young, like they're both 22, 23 years old.
We just saw Emmanuel Sanders come back from an Achilles at the age of 32. We've seen. I know different sport. We've seen Kevin Durant come back from it and be a All NBA caliber player again. I know a different sport, but we've seen the Achilles injury come back from. No one comes back from this injury and is the same. And I know we've never seen it, but I think that we've never seen him play, and I think that's an escape. That's where you go, okay, I'll take a 1st-round pick where I drafted him and say, you deal with it because I don't want it.
Oh, no, I'm not liking this list, Frank.
Yeah, no, you don't want it.
See, the one thing I know about running backs, I'm trying to – hold on, I don't know how to fucking maneuver this. Okay,
back to LaDainian Tomlinson.
Yeah, the thing is that the most important part of your foot for a running back is like right up along here, like this inside part of your foot, because you're always on like the balls of your feet. So like it looks like it's right in the middle of your foot. So that is seemingly a little bit dicey, but I don't know, dude. I think the injuries are fugazi, man. Some guys you can deal with them. Some guys they fucking die. All right, I'm willing to just roll the damn dice, dude. I'm at the craps table and I'm shooting.
Listen, if you want him, by all means. But the problem is the price is still as high as you drafted him, which is the problem.
Yeah.
If his price had fallen to a mid-second round pick, I understand the gamble there. He is a very talented player that is very young and could come back from it. But the fact that the price is still that late first, I don't want to touch it at all. And if I could get the late first, I would just say your problem now. Like I said,
I think in the interest of time, I'm just going to group these next 5 guys together, and you guys just shout out who you're least panicked about and who you're most panicked about, because they're all just wide receivers that were probably
one of these people shouldn't be on this list.
I mean, we're definitely going to be very panicked about.
So Josh Palmer, Dee Eskridge, Amari Rodgers, Tylan Wallace, Amon Ra St. Brown.
I'll say Amon Ra I'm not concerned about. I think he's starting to play better. He just had the best game of his career.
I mean, let me put it this way. None of these guys are below a 3 on the panic. Like at the very minimum, there are 4, I think, I'd have on the panic scale for these 5 guys.
Amon Ra's lower than a 4 for me.
He's probably my lowest at 4.
I mean, the caveat with these guys is that they were all outside of Amon Ra, who was probably a 2nd round pick. All the other guys were probably a 3rd or 4th round pick in rookie drafts. So I
think Amari Rodgers was a late 2nd.
I was about.
Am I a crackhead that I still want to buy Amari Rodgers? Is that a crackhead?
Oh, he's the one I'm the most panicked about.
So I was about to say the same thing. Amari Rodgers is the one I'm most panicked about.
I mean, Tylan Wallace, you have to be.
Wallace is 2nd.
But the thing is, you gotta remember, this is the Packers we're talking about. They're they run their organization as if they are like a 75-year-old grandpa, dude. Like, they're willing to give their guys so many chances.
Yeah, dude, but who's throwing the ball to him next year?
I don't give a fuck because no one's throwing it to him now. I need him to get on the field first. Like, the thing is, right
next
now
year he won't be on the field or having the ball
right now
thrown
he's
him.
pennies. They're gonna move on from the Randall Cobbs. Marquez Valdez-Scantling's going to find himself somewhere else. I think that Amari Rodgers, they are willing to develop him. I think that they have more of a long-term plan than, we need to that's what the freaking Packers do, dude. They take their players and they're like, yeah, we'll take Jordan Love in the 1st round because we need a quarterback in 19 years. It's like, and they're willing to sit there and fucking develop his ass for 9 years waiting for the perfect opportunity. I think that they're going to do the same thing with Amari Rodgers. And when you see guys like Aaron Jones eventually go and these other receivers and whatnot, I think that we're going to see Amari Rodgers be used. Whether he's fantasy relevant or not, I have no idea. But you're getting to the point where he's pennies.
Yeah, I just think for the most part, all these guys are pennies.
You know what? Fine. I'll put the bait on me. I'll admit that I'm taking the bait. All right, I think that's fair.
Even Amon Ra St. Brown, he was the one who had the game-winning touchdown against the Vikings, right? To me, it's just like the opportunity he has. Like, there's just no one else there to catch the ball for the Lions. So it's just like
he's beating out Khalif Raymond for snaps right now.
Sure, like the Lions are gonna have a ton. Like, after Jared Goff's gone and everything, whether that be this year and next year or whenever they get rid of him, they're gonna have a ton of cap space, and I don't know if any free agents are looking to go to Detroit, but they will have the room to make moves. Yeah, that's true. I just think any wide receiver shows up there, he's
Matt Hill. So we were supposed to wait 9 years for Amari Rodgers and Love to develop LMAO.
They're gonna look real nice on your your 10th year taxi squad.
I'm out on Amari Rodgers.
I am too.
I'm out on Amari Rodgers.
The fact that Matt Hill just said my argument back to me, I might be out on
anything else you guys want to add on any of these guys?
I actually think scored. Yeah, Dee Eskridge has looked great. Not great, but he's looked good in limited snaps. I mean,
yeah, it's been limited snaps, and I think he had a bit of a disadvantage with Geno Smith started 4 games and Russell Wilson his first 2.
The problem was he was out most of those games. He had a concussion week 1 that knocked him out for like 6-7 weeks. He was out for a while with this concussion. He's just now. I think this is his 3rd game back. He scored this week, so I'm interested to see how the Seahawks try to use him. He was their first pick in this year's draft, so I don't think they're just throwing him away.
Yeah.
Let's play the game. Let's do the rank game. We have to rank them. How many of these guys are there? There's 4?
Five.
Oh, we're including Palmer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, if I had to rank them, I'm probably going Amon Ra, Palmer, Eskridge, Rodgers, Wallace, or Rodgers. Those two are just tied for last, but it's Amon Ra, Palmer, then Eskridge above them.
I'd probably. Yeah,
I still like Palmer a lot.
I think I agree with Lounis's rankings. I almost flip flop between Palmer and Eskridge.
Yeah, those two was tough.
I'm not like there's nothing that exciting about Palmer, to be honest. Like he's just there.
What's exciting about him is Justin Herbert.
Yeah.
No, I like Palmer.
Amon Ra 1, Eskridge 2, Rodgers 3, Palmer 4, Wallace 5. The problem I have about Palmer, I think he's a good player. I think he'll be relevant, but not relevant for fantasy. I just think he doesn't have enough in his toolbox to be like a really great fantasy asset.
I think I have Eskridge 1, Amon Ra 2, Palmer, Rodgers, Wallace.
I was thinking about putting Eskridge 1 just because, dude, I think he has the highest ceiling, even though there's so many flaws with him.
What a fall from grace Tylan Wallace has for you, Jake. He was your guy at the draft, and now you have him 5th out of these guys.
I mean, he doesn't see the field.
Yeah,
he doesn't see the field.
When you got the likes of Sammy Watkins and Devin Duvernay and James Prochet, it's difficult to get on that.